Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 12 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Dutch Grand Prix, then be sure to check that one out before you see this one. That was, well, it started off like a really great Grand Prix in the wet, but we made a cracking effort, overtaking 5 cars in one corner in the carousel in the Inters, and it was going swimmingly. It kind of gave me the same vibes as the Belgium Grand Prix, potentially the possibility to do something clever with the strategy. And then, of course, if you guys have watched that, or you can probably tell by the title and the thumbnail of that one, it ended in a bit of a disaster, and we kind of rekindled the rivalry that we seem to always have with Pierre Gasly on the Formula 1 games, and we came together. It was kind of, it was a racing incident. I'm not going to put blame on him or myself. I think it was just unfortunate. Both of us lost the back end, basically. I think over one of the bumps, basically, as you crossed the start-finish line, and it was very close anyway with, you know, the squeeze in the wall and whatnot, and it happens sometimes in the wet. It's just unfortunate because the race was going really well. I thought we actually had some excellent pace on the Inters, actually, and we're, you know, with Gasly having an issue with his car, I think it was. And ahead of this race weekend, we've finally got now the window for negotiating the contract with our teammate or signing a new one, as we're about halfway through this season now. For some reason, the contract period is actually after 12 races rather than 10, halfway, like slam dunk halfway through the calendar year, which I don't get, but I guess maybe it will make more sense once the new tracks are added in later down the line. But looking at the driver market, I did say, you know, I wasn't sure, you know, 100% we're going to keep Callum Ilott, but honestly, he is the best choice for us. You know, looking around at other drivers, you've got Tsunoda, who is actually doing a better job than Ilott, but he's actually lower rated than him, and is more expensive. You know, Ilott's 70 rated, Yuki's 67, which kind of maybe shows, a little bit annoyingly, you know, you can see Ilott's focus is 64, he is indicating he's unhappy, or his focus is not quite there. But the thing is, it's another bone I have to pick with this game, that I'm finding a few little foibles with it, is there's no way to boost his focus, or at least I've not been given the chance to boost his focus through any department event so far. So I'm really scratching my head of how to boost his focus, apart from he needs to do a better job out on track and get his focus up on his own, because there's no other way I'm doing it. I can do these like activity events where I'm doing weight training, but that'll improve his pace, of course. But yeah, there's been a lack of events in the HQ department, you know, when it comes to personnel, that will allow me to boost his focus. So it's been tough, and even in like interview questions, there's been no interview questions that have allowed me to heap praise onto him or anything like that. So it is a bit of a head scratcher, to be honest, of how we're going to try and get him more focus, because I feel like, you know, he is a better driver on paper than Tsunoda, and Tsunoda is racing me and Alonso constantly for the points paying position. So can you imagine if Ilott was up there fighting with me versus Tsunoda and Alonso, we might be scoring, you know, double points every race these last couple episodes. So it's one we want to improve on, and to that kind of effect, we've got some money now to play around with, having signed him for the second part of the season. So we will keep Callum Ilott, because on paper, he is the best option, really, financially, in terms of versus his overall and everything like that. And also, I think, you know, give it some time, he might come good. There's been a few little instances where he's looked really good, but then others where he's fell away, or just kind of caught up in too much traffic, and just that classic, you know, early season 1 kind of annoyance with teammates, is they just don't apparently do that well in Season 1. And to that effect, we're going to upgrade the personnel facility, because we do have some money left over. Going to go for the experience there. Now, that won't technically improve his on-track ability, but improving the experience will mean he earns more R&D every race, and that's just going to mean we earn, as a team, more R&D every race, and so therefore can upgrade the car and give him a better car. The better car he has, the better chance he might do well, even if he's not fully focused on the task at hand, you would think. But we're going to go ahead and purchase, speaking of upgrades, go ahead and purchase a engine power upgrade. That's going to take a little bit of a while to come in after the Russian Grand Prix, just before Singapore, so that may be in handy, to be fair, because Singapore will have to compromise on the downforce level, so we're going to need that extra power boost. That's a major upgrade, and to be fair, the engine-wise, we actually have been falling away a little bit. If you look at the chart on the bottom right, we are in the bottom 3, so that's kind of crept out of nowhere, that all the other teams have been rapidly upgrading their engines, whereas I guess we focus so much on the aero and chassis, to the point where I've now maxed out what I can do with Spec 1 on those HQ facilities. So we're now kind of focusing on the engine side of things and boosting that. I did want to purchase the ERS upgrade as well, because we could have afforded it, but I've reached the maximum capacity of that. So again, that's maybe something we want to upgrade on the HQ facility of the engine, but I didn't feel like it was completely necessary at this moment in time, because I'm kind of happy with where the engine is. We're not massively behind. You can see we're pretty much level pegging with AlphaTauri, Williams, Haas, Alpine, so it's not a massive worry, but slowly we're going to try and shift focus to the power side of things, and eventually when we get the cash now going on in the rest of the season, upgrade the engine side of the HQ. But going through the practice programs then, this one again, like last, I don't know what's happening lately with the practice programs, but I got a lot of ones just came back negative, like in a row with that 50% chance. Eventually got through a lot of the programs, but yeah, I'm hoping our luck can change a little bit into the next episode with that, because that's 2 times in a row now, the practice programs, where I've had a lot of hiccups in terms of getting them all done, like with, you know, at the first time of asking. We move into qualifying then for the Italian Grand Prix. Sunny skies, and there is no rain now forecast for this entire race weekend, so after 2 races in a row, it's going to be old bone dry, and that means there's nowhere to hide as well, because now we'll fully see where the car is. But this is a very unique circuit, of course, and so it means the pecking order may be slightly different. I'm hoping we could go well. All those drag reduction upgrades, those, you know, chassis weight reductions will help out for sure. The fact that our engine maybe is lacking compared to our main competitors slightly may hinder us, but it might counteract basically and balance out because of all those updates we made to drag and such like that. So it'll be interesting to see where we are, but it was a little bit of a messy first lap there off the back of Ascari, a little bit wayward, having to catch the back end a little bit. And you can see in the bottom right as well, we've got that red icon for the engine. Now, I think that's because our MGU K, I think, is a little bit worn. I thought it'd be okay to risk it going into qualifying, as it wasn't that, the percentage wasn't that high. I think it was like 65, which I thought was okay, but then going into quali, 67, but then the MGU-H, some out of nowhere, it definitely wasn't that high when I looked at it just during practice, but it's now into the 80 region, so that's not going to affect the engine power, the MGU-H. That's simply going to overheat the engine a bit. Now, if it obviously stays overheated, that may reduce the power a little bit, but it's not a catastrophe, and you can clearly see I've got some decent pace because we make it through into Q2. Again, was a little bit annoyed that Ilott was maybe a little bit closer to us, you know, sign a new contract, maybe more focused, but he was about 4/10 off there, but that's a little bit more like it for me. We've had 2 pretty difficult qualifying sessions as of late in the Belgium Grand Prix, and especially last time out at Danville, that was a real tough one for me, at a circuit I'm not great at, so good to kind of return to form and get through, beat both Alfa Romeos, you know, Raikkonen was my on-track rival. Now kind of these days it's Fernando Alonso I've chosen, you may have noticed, for the acclaim reward, and so far it's kind of quite equally matched with Fernando, so let's see what we can do now in Q2. But into Q2, the problems just keep on coming, apparently, for us, as our DRS has failed, and as I was looking behind me to confirm my DRS was stuck closed, I noticed my car was smoking, and it is smoking because the MGU-H has now got so overheated, it is now, well, catching fire, I guess, in the engine bay of my car, and so that was going to be a horrendous lap. I mean, just think about it. No DRS around Monza, and now our MGU-H actually got so worn that it was smoking, so that definitely probably would have lost us some power. I'll be quite surprised if the game didn't make us lose any power when it was smoking, like literally physically smoking, so that was never going to end well anyway. Even without the engine issue, I think without DRS, honestly, it would have been difficult to do anything more than P16, so you can guess that's where we finished, P16. To be fair to me, I don't think we did too badly. 3/10 off Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. I don't think that's that bad, considering those 2 issues. But yeah, honestly, this season, you know, we've had some highs, obviously, at Belgium, but equally, you got to agree, we're having some lows, and we're very much getting tested. Like, this is really, you know, frustrating things the game's throwing at us. You know, some of them are a little bit my fault as well, with the kind of, the engine wear stuff, taking the gamble on that, but it's very much, I'm noticing, compared to F1 2020, the struggle's real. We're facing some proper struggles in Season 1, you know, with like the random failure. We got a Baku, for example, and things like that, and now, you know, we're having a bit of a tough period, and I decided we're going to have to take an engine penalty to change out the MGU-H. The MGU-K is fine. That won't affect the pure engine power. That'll be more about the ERS harvesting, but to be honest, I'm not too worried about ERS harvest. I think we'll be fine on that. We've been okay on that lately in the races, but the MGU-H, that, if it was already smoking in qualifying, that just means it's going to pop and just break in the race if we go with it. So we're going to have to change out that. At the time, in hindsight, I probably should have done what I did before and taken a whole column like I did at Baku, but in the moment, I just decided to take the MGH and then run with it. But obviously, that's just me kind of going quickly through the menus. But it is what it is. But we've taken a 10-place grid penalty for that. So we will be starting at the back of the grid for Monza. So it's difficult. It's tough times out here. But let's roll on to the race and hopefully make the best of it on a dry track.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today here at the oldest circuit on the calendar. Monza hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. With top speeds up to 215 miles per hour and an average lap speed of around 155 miles per hour, Monza's reputation as one of the fastest circuits in the sport is well earned. We have 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with the best overtaking chance coming into the heavy braking zone of the Turn 1 chicane. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat, Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching for as they go down into Turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into Turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Vettel, Max Verstappen and Stroll, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda, Gasly, Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, they've taken a grid penalty, and Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Eilert, George Russell and Nikita Mazepin, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, Fernando Alonso and the owner driver. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So back at the grid at the Italian Grand Prix. It could be a lot worse, to be honest, because on the F1 game, the Italian Grand Prix, it is a slipstream fest. Even on Season 1, it is a slipstream fest, so we can overtake around here. With our car, we've seen it's good in a straight line. Our engine power, our pure engine power, may be a little bit lower down, but because we've made so many drag reduction upgrades and chassis weight reductions, our car is very handy in a straight line. So I'm confident we're going to start on the soft compound tyre, go aggressive, and see what we can do. So here we go to 5 red lights at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. We're underway from last place on the grid, having taken that engine penalty. It's a decent getaway for us, and we're actually joined by Fernando Alonso on the back of the grid. I only just noticed that he had an engine penalty as well. So even when we get a penalty, we can't lose Alonso in this midfield battle of ours and our little mini rivalry we're having this season. As we have a great turn 1 and 2 up into P18. We're shifted down to the inside of the two Haas cars and found ourselves looking in a battle between Russell and Callum Eilert as we now duck in to the right hand side using Callum as a bit of a slipstream tow. He goes down the inside of Raikkonen, and we're going to try and use the inside line to just get across George Russell and play hardball with him. And in the end, that was almost like a bit of teamwork really, because Eilert blocked off Russell on the inside line and effectively opened up the door for me to go on the right hand side. And now we may be swapping positions though as we go towards turn 1. Lap number 2, he goes defensive. We're on the outside and Eilert makes a kamikaze dive on Raikkonen. Maybe he has improved a little bit. A new contract signed for the second half of the season. Maybe his focus got improved by signing a new contract, because Eilert is on fire here on the opening laps. Massive dive on Raikkonen. Very late decision, I feel, by him, but he made it nonetheless. And he's gone round the outside of Kimi, and we're going to go tight on the line. And it's a lovely textbook switch from left to right, tighten up the exit, and we're through up into P16. So it's actually some nice teamwork going. I'm liking this vibe. I'm liking this new Callum Eilert. Hopefully, we're going to see him this punchy from now on. I mean, it's still not, it's still not points. We're down in P15, but it's something at least to see him that racy. So maybe the contract signing really did improve the focus. But saying that, we're going to overtake him. We are the faster man, obviously, over the course of this season and in this car. And we're up into P15, and now we'll try and use the clean air to get away, but more importantly, chase after Giovinazzi and Ocon. And ironically, after I just said all that praise about Eilert, he's being overtaken or re-overtaken by Raikkonen. So maybe I spoke too early. I don't know. We'll give him time. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I know I can sometimes be very harsh on my teammates, but we now move on to lap number 3. Hamilton leads a 1-2 for Mercedes. Leclerc was in P3. It's now Sebastian Vettel, but we're watching Sergio Perez overtake Carlos Sainz. The two Red Bulls struggling this weekend, but Perez has a massive crash in a straight line with DRS open, and he's got into the wall, and he's out of the Italian Grand Prix. A lot of debris on track at turn 1, and that's why the full core safety car has been called out. Literally half his front wing is just there at turn 1. We're lucky not to have a puncture. Luckily we didn't run over it. It was hard to see that, honestly, but looking back at it now, whilst watching this and commentating, we could have easily run over that and got a puncture on the front left. So we're up into P14 though. Let's look at a replay as Perez just has a massive issue. I don't know what happened there. On board from Sainz, he just has a wobble really. Sainz reacts a little bit and gets out of the way, the left, and then Pierre Gasly lucky not to be caught up, and he does hit a bit of the debris. A few people do. Sonoda, Ricciardo, all of them lucky to not get punches there. Or maybe, oh no, Ricciardo's in. Maybe Ricciardo did get a puncher. Leclerc and Vettel are in as well. They weren't anywhere near the incident, so I don't know why Leclerc and Vettel have pit under the safety car. It's way too early. I did think about a free pit stop, you know, going to hard tyres, but it's so early in the Grand Prix, it's too much of a gamble. So Leclerc and Vettel might be doing a 2-stop, and maybe Ricciardo did get a puncher off that debris for Sergio Perez. That is a massive AI mistake there from Perez. Obviously Red Bull under pressure this weekend, not doing too well. It's not a Red Bull circuit, you know, straight line, you know, maybe a bit draggy, that Red Bull, not the best air efficiency, so pushing hard to, you know, even just overtake the Ferrari. But then I don't know what that was, just a massive kerfuffle with the DRS, and maybe just wanting to move too aggressively in a straight line like Sonoda almost did at Austria, and he's out. So that's a free position for us, and 3 other more free positions under the safety car at least, because Leclerc, Vettel and Ricciardo came in under that one. So now the focus is trying to get a good exit. We've been helped here a little bit because now we're right here and we can get the jump on Giovinazzi to turn 1 hopefully. And we've been getting as much heat into these tyres as possible, so much so that we almost span it into the grass and the wall on the left, you may have seen there, but we're not going to talk about that one. But here we are on the restart, waiting for the leader to go, and we've gone green. We almost got it a little bit poorly timed, but in the end actually not too bad, right on the back of the Italian. It is home Grand Prix, but we're hoping to spoil the party. At the moment he's in P10. Can we go through on the outside? He's going to go to the inside. We're going to follow him through. We narrowly missed the back end of Esteban Ocon, and here we go for the double overtake then on Ocon, and that is going to be Sonoda. But Giovinazzi, he's just made 3 overtakes. What's it on this year's game? I've got a fair play to AI. They make some massive dives, like player-like AI dives. Just Giovinazzi there is overtaking 3 cars in basically 1 or 2 corners there. It's quite something. But on to lap 7 then, as we tried to chase after Giovinazzi, but I actually started to struggle in sector 2 for some reason. And look at the wash of understeer I've got in the last corner. I don't know what's going on here, but Esteban Ocon has just absolutely done me on the inside. We've got Sonoda also there on the right. Raikkonen is going to try and join the party, and I think it's 4 wide. I think this is 4 wide at the moment here at the Italian Grand Prix. Yes, it is. We were 4 wide into that turn, and we've ducked out of that one, backed out of that completely because I thought we were going to get absolutely pinched. We've been hit by Alonso at turn 1. It is all kicking off here at the Italian Grand Prix. Before we continue with that clip, let's just look at a replay and confirm to you the absolutely biblical scenes we were seeing here down this straight. Look at this, 4 wide at Monza, season 1 of the game. That is crazy. I've said it before, for season 1 we've been getting some crazy levels of action so far in this series, but we go for the dive on Sonoda. Ocon slow, drifting the car through because the rear end steps, and we just narrowly make some contact with Ocon. He keeps it going though, yellow flags behind, but we get the job done on Yuki Tsunoda. But then he gets us back because there's clearly something wrong. Something's wrong with the car. Look at the amount of understeer we're getting, but we've got no damage. I've got no damage indicator on the car, but this car is handling like an absolute boat right now, and Alonso is now through on our inside. We're going to deploy ERS to try and defend against him. He's got a little bit of damage on his front wing, but that may just be visual, but we cut in and just defend as hard as we can as we go through Ascari right in the curbs, very much so, to just keep the car going, because something's clearly wrong. I mean, even in a straight line we're wrong. Is the engine, maybe the engine's got an issue, because we've got the red icon on the bottom right, but that's just the MGK. That's not going to affect my understeer. Like the understeer I'm facing, that's not engine related, but you can see through Parabolica, those two just walked away, but you can see on the bottom right, that heads-up display, we've got no damage indicated. Like, my tyres are a bit worn, that's fine, but we've got no front wing damage, no floor damage or barge wall damage indicated. The engine is worn because of the MGK, but like I said, that's the MGK. All that's gonna change is the ERS, the amount of ERS I'm gonna be able to harvest. That's what all the MGK does. So in a straight line, I'm not too bad, to be fair. These guys are catching me because of DRS, so it's not a straight line issue. It's not engine related. I think I've got some sort of damage to my car, but the game, for whatever reason, has not told me about it or not indicated it to me enough on the heads-up display, because I'm being absolutely done now. I'm being swarmed completely. I mean, look at the engine wear. The only thing that's worn on the engine is the MGK, 78%. Ricardo's coming through on the left-hand side, but in the matter of a few, laps, basically, we've gone from, P9, battling for P9, down to P15. We successfully defended Ricardo for a little bit, but to be fair to him, apologies, we weren't actually battling him proper, because we're going to come in. You may have seen as I was being overtaken by Leclerc, I said box in this lap. We're 2 laps earlier than our pit stop window, but I thought, no, I need to come in. If I do have damage, we're going to know now, because my team's going to change the front wing. But there's no front wing change. So, we don't have front wing damage. I know the engine's a bit worn, but like I've said twice now, that's not going to affect the understeer. You can clearly visually see I'm facing every corner. The tyres are now no longer worn. We're on fresh mediums. So if we still have issues now on this outlap, then this has got to be floor damage or barge wall damage. But for whatever reason, the game is not showing me that damage properly, because my heads-up display is telling me all green for all those parameters of the car. So I had this at Monaco. I said this in the Monaco video, episode 3 was it, that I had a hunch that for some reason, compared to the preview builds to the full release of the game, I think there's a bug or an issue where the game is not fully colouring and indicating the damage you might have on your car, especially with simulation damage. It's not telling you clearly enough, because I definitely have an issue, because I've been now caught by Mazepin and George Russell. I was a few seconds ahead of them, lap 11 now, I've just been overtaken by the Haas on hard tyres. Russell behind me is on hards, and he's catching up to me in the Williams car, and we're being done. He's got me off acceleration there. Now into Parabolica, you're going to see that same understeer is going to kick in as we take the racing line, but then I just can't get the nose turned in. It's not like we're going on the power too early. We actually get a drift on there, and it's oh so close to Russell, and so now we're having a little Titanic scrap with Georgie boy here, it would seem, on lap number 12, as we go back. Look, with DRS, I can overtake him, so it's not actually an engine issue. My straight line speed's fine, so it's in the corners. There's physically something wrong with it. Look at that! What is that? The rear end steps are broke a little bit late, but still, why is the rear end stepping out that much? I think something is broken on this car. I think we've got floor damage or something, and the game's just not told me. Like, on my heads-up display, it's just green. So I'm really quite baffled as we now continue to battle with George Russell and having a good old scrap. Switchback move here. Doesn't quite work out, or will it? There we go. Get the boost. Going to use some ERS and go down the inside. Yes, it will. So we are battling hammer and tong with George Russell for P19. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. We were fighting for a podium 2 races ago, and now I'm getting excited about battling Russell for P19. Season 1 has certainly been a roller coaster, but I am convinced. This is my conclusion. I am convinced that I've got floor damage or barge wall damage, and the game has failed to indicate that to me. So obviously it wouldn't change if it indicated it to me. That doesn't change anything, because you can't change your floor damage. So just like in real life, if you have floor damage, if you have barge wall damage, that's it. You have to firm it, and you're going to have that damage for the rest of the race. But I'd like to know about it, because it was such a surprise and a bafflement to me since that safety car restart, where all my pace went. It was frustrating just not to know where it was coming from. It's not the front wing, it's not the engine, because my MGK is not even that worn. My MGK is 71%, that's not even that worn. And that's only going to affect the ERS harvesting. But on lap 15, I just thought, I basically fell away by like 3 seconds to Ilott and Russell in the span of 2 laps. I'm going to be nowhere. I'm going to be stone dead last. I'm going to be battling Latifi soon. That's just embarrassing. I may as well retire the car. I may as well save the engine. Our engine is getting very worn very quickly. So in a season like this, where we can't afford to take too many engine penalties too many times, I don't want to, I thought we may as well retire the car. So we have retired the car. And so for the second time in a row, it is going to be a retirement and DNF to this race. I don't know what to say. I mean, from a creator standpoint, guys, I'm sorry that there's been 2 races now in a row where we've not even made it past halfway of the race, but also at the same time, this is almost kind of what we asked for on last year's game. This, you know, the harsh reality of Formula 1 is, in real life, this sport can be cruel, and it has been very cruel to us today, because I don't even know where I picked up this damage, but that's our Grand Prix over and done with.
Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So Lewis Hamilton wins this one, bounces back off the DNF he had at the Dutch Grand Prix. Bottas in second. Lando Norris gets into third place, showing McLaren continuing to improve and showing that they're actually quicker than Red Bull in this season of ours in career mode save, which is pretty crazy to think about. There's Verstappen is in P4, Ricciardo P5, and, well, obviously Perez crashed out of the Grand Prix. Annoyingly, Alonso got P9, so that's kind of where we would have been. Alonso went from second last place to 9th place. So, you know, that's pretty amazing. But we could have done that and been with him. And more annoying, after I retired, both AlphaTauris ended up retiring. Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, they were in the race still when I was there. But then after we retired, at some point in the race, you know, simulating the rest of the race as the game does, both AlphaTauris retired. So that's so frustrating. We could have got some really crucial points over our rivals, AlphaTauri, then the next team above us that we're chasing the championship. So I'm kicking, you know, myself and the team even more now that we had to retire like this, because, and we had a damaged car, because if we were where Alonso was, we could have at least got 2, maybe 4 points over AlphaTauri. But in the end, neither of us get any points, and just Alonso that gets 2 for Alpine. So yeah, it's a tough one, but I guess, you know, this is what we wanted. We wanted a real challenge that has, you know, some ups, obviously, getting a podium, some really highs, but then some really grueling, tough challenges like this. I don't even know where we got the damage, but it's just the way it is. So we reset, we go again, and we really want to reset for next time, and we'll see if we get better luck next time. But guys, if you did enjoy the episode, hit that like button, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.